Living on the Edge. Bit of a double entendre there, Living on the Edge. It's Jeff K, live from the Bring In the Weekend party, Longhorn Ice House in Dallas. As you never know who's going to stop by the broadcast, and look who showed up, kids. It's a legendary Dallas record collector, entrepreneur, radio legend, Texas Radio Hall of Famer, former KZEW, the Zoo radio DJ, Mr. George Gimarc has shown up. Hey, George.
I can't wait till he gets here. So, hang on a second.
Yeah, you sound great.
Oh, okay.
You're doing good.
What's the chances that I would be at 2 Bring In the Weekend parties back to back?
I know you were Josie last week because you're always where like record store openings are happening.
We're not putting the band back together, okay?
Dang it.
We're not putting the band
You
back
look
together.
super great in your Edge Club t-shirt.
Yeah, I wore this just to suck up to you. You told me I had to or else I couldn't come on the air.
Yeah. So, for people who, how would they not know about George Gimarc? You actually worked on the Zoo.
Under 30.
Yeah, good
Under
point.
50.
Stop it. But you were on the Zoo. Give us the time frame that you worked on the Zoo.
1980 to 87.
Okay, and you did the Sunday night show that was called
Rock and Roll Alternative.
Which, you think about it, that was before alternative was even considered a format. You had the peace of mind to almost name that sound before anybody else.
Okay, fine. Story time, Jeff. Story time. Okay, when I got the gig, 1980, and I'm fresh out of college up in North Texas, Tom Owens says, you want to get in radio? You want to go ahead? When can you start? He I didn't expect the job, and he said, when can you start? And he said, but you got to come up with a better name for your show, because I was calling the show Punk and New Wave, and he said, well, that ain't going to fly on the Zoo.
Yeah.
And he said, so what are you going to call it? Come on. What are you going to call it? I was on the spot, and behind his desk was an album leaning against the wall called A Rock and Roll Alternative. Atlanta Rhythm Section.
Yes.
And that's where I got the name
Dang
from.
it. I don't want to give Atlanta Rhythm Section credit for coming up with alternative. No. I want to give it to George Gimarc.
Well, I appropriated the term. So,
all right. So you were on the air at the same time as LaBelle and Rhodey.
Oh, yeah.
And John Dillon.
And John Dillon, John B.
God
Wells.
rest his soul. John Wells, who does the voice of a lot of stuff you hear on Lone Star. Doc Morgan. So what was their impression of what you were doing on Sunday? Were you the weirdo, or did they love it?
Oh, I was definitely the weirdo. Not to John Wells. John Wells thought I was okay, and John Baker, who was production director and occasionally on the air, I was okay with him, but I was generally the weirdo, the staff weirdo. But I was 8 years younger than everybody else there. So, I mean, well, you've been in situations where you were the youngest kid on the staff.
Well, I'm always the weirdo everywhere I go.
Yeah.
We're visiting with George Gimarc. He stopped by the Bring In the Weekend party here at the Longhorn Ice House on Lone Star 92.5. George, you've always got something going on. You and I worked together on one of the CDs of the Tales from the Edge CDs that you put out. They're legendary. Tales from the Edge Volume 1. I've seen that on eBay for over $100. It's a collector's item.
Oh, man.
The volume that I helped you is Volume 8. You've brought some copies out here to the Longhorn Ice House.
Those are the last 10 copies available in this building.
Yes. But I'm also hearing that you're now putting out a vinyl version of Tales from the Edge. Is that true?
Yeah, I've gotten together with GI, and we're doing on the DFW Legacy series.
Oh, I love that.
We're doing a vinyl version of Tales from the Edge, polycarbonated. So it's polycarbonated. It's got a new jacket, a new cover where animals are abusing men.
Good.
And it's got tracks that people have never been on vinyl before, and that would include Buck Jones and Course of Empire. Well, they've been on vinyl now. They've got an album being released.
Yeah.
The Nixons, Tablet, Tripping Daisy, Adams Farm, Tabula Rasa, Three on a Hill. It's a great lineup. It's a rocking lineup, and available for the next few days for a mere $20 if you pre-order it. You know what new records cost these days?
I know.
$20 is cheap.
I just bought a purple vinyl copy. You know, Josie's just down the road, the main Josie.
Yeah.
Bought a purple vinyl copy of the new Lemon Twigs album, and it was more expensive than that. So, anyway, so how do people get this Tales from the Edge?
They just go to DFWLegacySeries.com, and you can order it there.
Wow. A vinyl version of Tales from the Edge. That is so exciting. And that's not all. You're also working on a book, George Gimarc?
Yeah, working on a book. I've been prompted to tell stories. I tend to do that from time to time. So we're going to be telling a whole bunch of stories, things, unlikely encounters I've had over the last however many years, 40 years or whatever.
When is that set to come out?
I have no idea.
Oh,
I'm still putting it together. I've been going through all sorts of odd stuff from my career. Lately, I've been transcribing interviews I did with everybody that I could track down in the 70s connected to Buddy Holly.
Oh, wow. Exciting.
So a lot of members of his band, people who played with him in junior high and high school, his producers. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a whole bunch of odd some of the first interviews I ever did.
Well, George Gimarc, I wish we could talk to you forever. This is rock radio, so eventually we have to get back to rock. But before we do that,
yes.
And since you are putting a book out of your stories, one of my favorite stories of yours, and I hope you can share it with us now, is how you emceed U2's first ever show in Dallas when they opened for a wet t-shirt contest.
Yeah, see, you've just blown the joke there.
Oh, damn it.
April of 81, U2 are coming on their first tour of America. And the record company sent them out way too early. They put them on the road across America 4 days after the album had been released. So, of course, who knows who this band is? Barely anybody. I, of course, did because that was my job.
Right.
And so when they hit Dallas, they're playing at a place called Cardi's, which is basically Skillman, Abrams, Northwest Highway. It's a little standalone in the Medallion Shopping Center.
Interruption. I used to busboy at Biff's. Do you remember Biff's restaurant? Which was right over there. Anyway, back to your story.
And so they're booked into that place. And when the band shows up, they find out that I think it's like on a Wednesday night. And the usual Wednesday night at Cardi's is the wet t-shirt contest. And they've also got this new band. And so the marquee at the top of the building actually says wet t-shirt contest plus U2. I was able to gas Bono and the guys about that for the next 20 years. Every time I saw them, when they would have me introducing them at Reunion Arena, I would ask them, so are you going on first or is it the wet t-shirt contest? And he always managed to nudge me with, when I introduced him that very first time, I was a little nervous. I was in awe of these guys that I really liked, but they were like 19-year-olds.
Yeah, they've gone on to be, I guess, a good band.
A pretty decent band.
Yeah.
And I mistakenly introduced them as one of the best new bands from England. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was nervous. And as I left the stage and the band came on stage, Bono caught me by the cuff and said, we're from Ireland. Ireland. And so every show after that, for the next 10 or 15 years, when they would come through town and I would introduce them, he would say, now, George, where are we from? And I would say, a wet t-shirt contest? And he'd say, oh, we're even.
There you go. So that story hopefully will be in the book, yes?
Oh, yeah, I've got to put that in there.
All right.
And I can pay it off with photos. I've got photos. Not of the marquee, but whatever.
All right, it's the great George Gimarc. Showed up here at the Bring In the Weekend party, Longhorn Ice House. That's 1901 West Northwest Highway, half mile west of I-35. He's got a new book coming out.
Free CDs.
He's got a Tales from the Edge edition on vinyl. Where can they order?
They got to do DFWLegacySeries.com. And this is only going to be available at that price for like another week or so.
All right, well, get on it. And if you want to come on out, say hi to George. He's hanging out for just a little bit longer here at the Longhorn Ice House.
LoneStar 92.5 serves up the classic rock while you work.
Man, I ain't worked on the sweat yet.
Non-stop classic rock, starting before 11 and again before 4 o'clock to end the workday.
Classic rock while you work.
On LoneStar 92.5.